Welcome to Bet On It, the college edition. I'm very sad because this is our last college show. We're going to take you guys all the way, well, up to the national championship. Check out our NFL edition of Bet On It because we will definitely have a longer version of the national championship segment. That will be next week, but we're going to get through this week and really have a great time with our last show. To the right of me, Mr. Marco D'Angelo, at Marco in Vegas. To the right of him, a man who needs no introduction, the Greek gambler, Gianni the Greek, Vegas runner, ace. All right, guys, let's talk January 1st, New Year's Day bowl games. Normally we have a primetime segment here, but these are the big primetime games in my opinion. Let's start off with the Rose Bowl. Marco, I'll start with you. Wisconsin versus Oregon. I know who I like in this game, and I'm hoping you guys agree.
Yeah, Kelly, you look at this one, and, with the bowl games, anytime that you're talking about the Rose Bowl, you shouldn't be talking about motivation because it's the Rose Bowl. It's the granddaddy of them all.
I mean, baby,
Well, that's because you guys are older, so you guys think this
Remember
Rose
that?
Bowl is this like elusive thing. I've never been to
It was a West Coast thing. So on the East Coast, it would come on in the evening. It was later. Remember?
5 o'clock
Yeah.
Eastern time that game would start, and Kelly, that's one of my fond childhood memories.
Me too.
Me and my dad. My mom was superstitious. We always had pork and sauerkraut every New Year's Day because it's supposed to be good luck.
Okay.
Would have that and would sit down and watch that game together. And I loved the Rose Bowl. And I always said, I'm going to go see the Rose Bowl someday. And a couple of years ago, Brian Leonard and myself, we went and saw Penn State in USC in an epic
Maybe because I'm a Big 12 girl that we never got invited to the Rose Bowl, so I just always pushed it off to the side we don't care about the Rose Bowl.
I can remember Penn State whenever they moved to the Big Ten. One of the things, in the press conference, and Joe Paterno, whenever they went there, is that he wanted to win a Rose Bowl because it's a conference-affiliated bowl, and you never got a chance to do it until they joined the Big Ten. So it is a prestigious bowl. Now the question here is, do these two teams, which one is glad to be here and which one's not? For me, I think Oregon's bowl game came in the Big 12 championship game. All right. Yes, they won their way in here, but for them it was more satisfying because let's face it, they screwed up. They could have been playing for the national championship if they didn't lose to Arizona State late in the season by a field goal. But then what did they do? They ruined Utah's chance to go to the playoffs. So the Pac-12 has nobody in the national championship once again, and here they are in the Rose Bowl, and I think it's kind of, it's a consolation prize. For Wisconsin, they lost and got the reward of going to the Rose Bowl.
They lost to Illinois.
Well, they lost the Big Ten championship game, and because Ohio State's in the national championship playoffs, they get to go by default because they were the second place team and they're here. And I just think Wisconsin, this is a team that's going to want to be here. Coach Chris, getting to go to the Rose Bowl. He was at Wisconsin before, left, took the Pitt job, and actually turned the Pitt program around, got him going in the right direction. But when, his team came back and offered him the job, he went back to Wisconsin. So I think they're going to be excited to be here. I think Oregon, that last game, did it for them. I like Wisconsin. I just can't see that Oregon. You just don't see teams in the Pac-12 like Wisconsin. It's going to just, everybody on that offensive line's 300 pounds, and they're just going to pound that football down your throat.
This defense it has impressed me for most of the season. I know, as you mentioned, the Big Ten championship game, they kind of took their foot off the gas. They had all the momentum. Ohio State flipped the script, and here we are. VR, your thoughts on this game?
I agree 100%. First, I want to make a quick disclaimer. I haven't bet a single college football bowl game. I haven't released a single college bowl game as a premium play. I bet probably 20, 25 games. Obviously, I move these games. It's not my own stuff. And until I confirm that they're legit moves, I won't piggyback them or pass them along to my subscribers because I know a lot of times they're just buying numbers and trying to get the best of the number, reading the market, setting stuff up. So I'm very cautious early on. So with that said, if the game was going on in 20 minutes and I had to bet it, I'd be all over Wisconsin myself and probably bet the under also because what we've seen of Oregon is when they're playing low-level opposition, they'll light up that scoreboard. But as the opposition got better, it just wasn't the case. And I think that's what they're going to run into here with Wisconsin. Obviously, Wisconsin's going to want to slow it down. They're going to want to make it like a heavyweight title fight where they systematically break you down by being physical, like Marco touched on, just beat you in the trenches. And I think that's where they're going to have a lot of luck against Oregon. I like Wisconsin. I like the under. But, again, I haven't bet either.
I'm going to stick with you here, VR. Let's go over to the Sugar Bowl. This one's an interesting line. I know Baylor's gotten almost no respect all season long, but this is just more of the same. They're a 6.5-point dog here to the Georgia Bulldogs.
To me, the first thing that jumped out was the total, you know, because, again, when you get to the bowl season, it's kind of like the playoffs where the public money outweighs sharp money by a huge margin, especially on these marquee bowl games. Early on, different story when we're talking about December 21st, December 22nd. A lot of those are wise guys versus the books with public money sprinkled in. When you get to these Rose Bowls, Sugar Bowls, national championship, it's public and then what the sharps are doing. Kind of like the Super Bowl when bookmakers tell you, our aim isn't what the wise guys are going to do, it's what the public's going to do because that's the money we're going to be facing. And for me, that total really jumped out because it looks like 8 out of 10 tickets that they're going to write is going to be on the over. It's hard enough for recreational bettors to bet an under, let alone an under 40, 42 in college football.
I'm not going to
That's what jumped out at me.
It looks scary.
Yeah. And to me, Georgia being double-digit favorite as well. It looks to me like Baylor's going to have a lot of trouble scoring. Based on that line, my reading the market, I think Baylor team total under is probably the best bet because based on that line, that's what it tells me. Georgia double digits and a total of 40-something, Baylor ain't going to score too many points.
Marco, are you stepping in front of the SEC train in the bowl game?
Well, this is a tough game because both of these teams had their shot to be in the national championship, and we talk about motivation and so forth.
Good point.
But I got to say, for Georgia, this is the second year in a row that this has happened to them, that they went to the last game and then they stubbed their toe and don't go to the national championship playoff. So I wonder what their psyche is. Baylor, we know that they, got to be disappointed. But every time this year, Kelly, that I said, this is a spot
yeah,
that
they
Baylor,
bounce back. You're right.
that Baylor
You're right.
should be a flat spot. Coach Rule has got them ready to play. But I'm going to say,
it's hard to have a flat spot this year when look at what happened in the last two seasons, right? This team is good. This team is athletic. They pound the football. Their defense comes to play.
Their defense is the key, and I'm going to piggyback you as well, Ace. I looked at this one, looked at the total, and when I told Kelly in the green room before we come in here to tape, I said, I'm going with the under. And she goes, whoa. That's I said, it's a ballsy call. I'm sorry, it is, but that's the way to go.
Unless the weather's real bad, sorry, because then if the weather's real bad, I think the value will be lost on the under because that's when sloppy things tend to. Oh, it's indoors.
Yeah,
good
no
then.
Yeah, they're
We're
indoors
good
in
then.
Shreveport.
Yeah. So I'm going under, and here's the stat for you. Baylor has, remember, they're in the Big 12. Everybody scores. They've only allowed over 30 points one time this year. 30 and under in all of their games. I'm taking under 41.5.
I don't disagree with either of you guys. Looking at some stats here, the under 4-2 in Baylor's last 6 games, the under 7-1 in Georgia's last 8 games.
Georgia doesn't score.
They don't, and that's why I don't think I can lay points with them because they can't score here. Doesn't mean I'm rushing to back Baylor, but that under looks rather juicy. Great stuff from both of these guys. We're going to step out for a quick break, but when we return, it's time for the big game breakdowns. That's right, we're talking the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl coming up next on Bet On It.
Get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the Wager Talk and Sports Memo family. Every Monday at wagertalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at wagertalk.com and our sister site, sportsmemo.com.
Welcome back to Bet On. It's now time to talk about the 2 biggest bowl games. That's right, college football playoff. Marco, I'm going to start with you with the Peach Bowl, December 28th, Oklahoma versus LSU. Actually, as we were walking in, I got a text. Looks like a couple of Oklahoma players are suspended. Line's now up to 14.
Yeah, this is one of those ones. Oklahoma's coming into this was getting zero respect. I mean, all the talk was who was going to be number 1, LSU, and then they were going to be playing the winner of 2-3. Okay, that's in who was going to get that spot. And you know what? I can't argue with it, Kelly. And I'm not going to, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I've been riding this LSU team for a long time, and it's been good for me, and I'm going to continue to do it. I like them against Texas A&M. I like them against Georgia. This defense is underrated. People say that their defense doesn't stack up. You know, when they played Georgia, everybody said the Georgia defense was so much better. Yeah, the numbers were better, but you got to remember, as we pointed out, Georgia doesn't score points. LSU does. So LSU had margins. They were able to take their foot off the gas defensively, play a little bit of prevent defense in the second half, and that skewed their numbers. You want to talk about defense. How does Oklahoma stop LSU in this game? We saw down the stretch that teams, even a team like Baylor, that doesn't score a lot of points, was scoring points on Oklahoma in both of those meetings that they played late in the season, the regular season.
I mean, that's literally how K-State beat Oklahoma this year, was because they scored more points, which that never happens.
Right.
That's not K-State's dichotomy.
The last month of the season, the Oklahoma defense resembled the Oklahoma defense of last year, which was horrible. I just don't see them doing it. They don't see teams like LSU in the Big 12 that can both pass the football and run the football down your throat and play smash mouth. I like LSU here. I'm laying the points. It's a big number, but I don't want Oklahoma.
So, VR, on my podcast last week, I said if it gets to 14, I have no choice but to bet Oklahoma. This morning I get a text. 3 Sooners, at least 3 Sooners is what it says, will be suspended. Perkins, Stevenson, and Bridges, 2 offensive players, 1 defensive end. I don't know if it really matters that much. Those guys are not pertinent guys to the offense, key guys on defense. It's not like, you know, Jalen Hurts is gone, right?
Yeah.
But my concern still is, how are these guys going to match up against LSU? I'm kind of backtracking now and taking the 14. Your thoughts?
Yeah, again, haven't bet this game, but immediately once the talk of the suspensions came out and the young lady asked me what I like on this side so they could put it on their graphics at the end of the show, I had to go to Oklahoma. And the reason for it's simple. The market always overreacts to what players are worth, what suspensions are worth, what weather's worth. 9 times out of 10, the market's going to misprice it. The books, the odds makers do a good job, but we, the market, tend to misprice it. And that's the only reason. That would be my fade against LSU, simply based on the fact that Oklahoma's got their players suspended. Otherwise, matchup-wise, what's not to like with LSU? I mean, they're not only crushed everyone, they're outperformed the betting market. Teams like that win that many straight up aren't supposed to be 67% against the spread. Vegas is supposed to do a much better job. But no one saw LSU coming. That's the difference. So coming out of the gate, they weren't supposed to have this kind of season. And I think that's why they've done so well ATS.
And then the flip side, Oklahoma's done really poorly.
ATS, exactly. Remember, week after week, is this a hill you want to die on? They win, but they don't cover. You know, is that going to continue into the bowl games? Time will tell. But that's the only pause I have with the LSU side, that the mispricing over the suspensions.
One thing I just want to throw in there, there's an old school angle. You might hear people throw it out there, but it has not been good over the last few years, and I'll tell you why. It used to be blindly, you would bet against the team that has the Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But that has changed because now, because of the playoff picture, the Heisman Trophy team is always one of the teams, that's playing for the national championship, where before it could have just been a regular, bowl game and so forth, and you had that letdown. So don't buy that old factor.
All right, Marco, quickly, we have the Fiesta Bowl, December 28th, Clemson versus Ohio State. I like Clemson. We've already been over this one.
You're not going to like me. We'll be tweeting back and forth. I'm sorry. I'm going to play the card that Ohio State is going to play going into this. They are disrespected. Everybody is Clemson. Clemson's a team you don't want to play. Clemson's defending national champ, blah, blah, blah. Clemson plays in the ACC. Yes, they dominated every year. Please tell me who the second best team in the ACC is and what their line would be if they were playing any of these other teams in there. I'm sorry. Ohio State, at the end of the season, everybody's looking that they got, they were behind against Wisconsin and everything else. Look at who they played down the stretch. They had to play Penn State, then Michigan, and then go to the Big Ten championship game and play a team that you already blew out. Ohio State beats Clemson.
All right, VR, you got about a minute.
Styles make fights. I like the under right away. These two teams, I get it, offensive juggernauts, but this is a big, big game. And this total's way up there. I think the national championship's a little bit different, but this is to get to the national championship, and I do not think it's going to be one of those runaway type games where you see a ton of scoring in the second half, like a lot of times in national championships. I think the under's the value side here.
Little revenge, too. Don't forget, Ohio State, last time they played Clemson, they got the shit beat out of them. I'm sorry.
And I feel like that is exactly how this game is going to go. I'm banking on Clemson showing up because of what you just said. They get no respect because they're in the ACC, where they're just the runaway favorite every single year to win that conference for a reason. They're leaps and bounds better. I love Dabo Swinney and what he does. Also love Brent Venables and that defense. I have no choice but to take the better defense here. I do like VR's under, though. I'm looking at that one just going, okay, that makes a lot of sense on how you see the game playing out. And I do think that, as you mentioned, the general public's not coming in to bet the under. Great stuff, guys. Can't wait to watch these games. Let's bring in our resident stat guy, Mr. Ralph Michaels, and see what he's got dug up for us in this week's TNA. Ralph, each and every week, people love the stuff you dig up. This is our final episode of College Football's Bet on It. Tell me what goodies you got for us this week.
I don't repeat things very often, but I'll tell you what. Bowls, 6-6 teams against teams with 7 or more wins since 2008, 50-22, 69%. It doesn't get simpler. Teams with 6 or more wins against exactly 6 wins against a team with 7 or more wins, and they won their last game to get in, 31-10, 76%. That's a repeat, I know, but it's just, I won't play against a 6-6 team. That's how strongly I feel against it.
Wow.
Since 1980, 15 teams have gone from 0 or 1 win to go to a bowl the next year. Those teams have gone 12-3 against the spread. Central Michigan is the only team that fits in that mold against San Diego State.
And they've done well against the spread this year.
Well, you got a solid head coach, and you're looking at a great situation. Since 2006, teams with 3 or fewer wins the year before. So you go from a 0, 1, 2, or 3 win team to going to a bowl, 31-14, 65%, 16-2 the last 3 years. Kent State, Central Michigan, Louisville, Georgia State.
I like it.
Teams who lost their last home game as a dog of 4 or more and didn't cover as well. Disappointing. Bubble burst, Michigan, Oklahoma State against Oklahoma, a rivalry game. Those teams have gone 8-17, 32% since 2009. And Kelly, you're not going to like this one, but it's worth mentioning.
Great.
Military academies.
Okay, good.
Okay? You have to mention it because it's military academies, the noise isn't the same. They go to bowl games. They're better prepared. They don't worry about practices. Military academies
They're
have
probably
gone
more disciplined.
34-13, 72%.
Wow.
Military academies against teams that have a win percentage of 600 or more, like Kansas State, 24-4 against the spread, 86.6%.
More reasons from Ralph for me not to go to Memphis for the bowl game.
I will say this, though. You know, at North Dakota State in the playoffs, he often faced those SoCon teams that played options. So in the past, they have played option teams, at least when he was at North Dakota State. We'll see if he can translate that into a win at Kansas State.
Oh, good grief. Ralph just bringing me all sorts of Christmas presents. Appreciate you, Ralph. Great stuff as always. We are going to take a quick break. When we return, it is time to walk those dogs. One of my favorite segments, Barking Dogs, is up next on Bet on It.
I'm Gianni, the Greek Corrales. I came to Wager Talk in 2018, turned in a winning year. As we close out 2019, take a look back. I'm up money over the last 7 days, up money over the last 30 days, and up money over the last 365 days. So it'll be another winning year, and that's what less than 1% of sports bettors are able to do. So here's what I'm going to give you. the rest of the year till the end of December for only $119. That's college football, NFL, the bowl games, college basketball, NBA, which we're over 65% in each of those sports. Plus, you'll get UFC, NHL, everything that's going on between now and the end of the year, $119. Jump on board.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our Wager Talk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free.
Welcome back to one of my favorite portions of the show. That's right. You guys know I love those underdogs. It is time for Barking Dogs. VR, you're up first. Who we sprinkling on for this college bowl season?
The dog we're going to go with is, got to go with Iowa State against Notre Dame. Big game. I think it's a much bigger game for Iowa State, who's had a really good season. Didn't reach their season win total. They were, I believe, 8 and went under that season win total.
I think, to be fair, I think a lot of people thought Matt Campbell was going to bring back a lot. They lost a lot of really good kids.
Yeah, I agree. Very close, a 6-6 ATS team. But this is a game that I don't think, again, Notre Dame, they come into the season with a lot higher expectations than playing in the Camping World Bowl in Orlando on December 28th.
I really wanted K-State to be in this game because that's where I would have rather go. So I could go with my friends that are Notre Dame fans. Of course, they chose Iowa State. Why, I don't know. But Notre Dame wasn't going to be up for either one of those teams.
Yeah, at all. And I think when it comes to the bowl game, it's just you have to pay attention to that. And I think Iowa State's definitely capable of staying close to Notre Dame. And I also like the fact that the under got steamed 2 times. So lower scoring game is expected. For me, I like the Iowa State side. I'll take the 3.5. I don't think that's necessary. It's got sprinkle written all over it. I mean, you got a 7-5 team against, a 10-2 Notre Dame, only catching a field goal.
Kind of tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Marco, who you got barking?
Well, I got one barking. And Kelly, when you look at bowl games, we talk about, we've done segments on how do you handicap bowl games, what's different. Well, the first thing on the list for me always is motivation in the bowl games. Second thing is, give me the better defense if I'm getting points.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I've got a game where we've got both of those. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a tough time swallowing this team because he doesn't win big games. But we're going to go to Johnny Detroit's Michigan Wolverines. And Kelly, if you're an Alabama player and you've been playing for the national championship.
And now you have to play in the Citrus Bowl.
Year in and year out, and Coach Saban's going to try to decide, we're going to the Citrus Bowl. I don't care. How many guys, and here's the thing too, how many people are going to sit out for Alabama? I
think we've only heard of a couple so far.
Okay, but if you're an Alabama player that is going to go to the NFL, why are you playing in this game, especially after what you saw happen to Tua? And let's go to that. Your leader is not in this game. You got hurt. Now, we've talked about the backup for Alabama. He would start at most colleges.
For sure.
He's very capable.
Absolutely.
But again, how do you get up for playing in this game after you play in the national championships? Now let's go to the Michigan side. Yeah, they lost to Ohio State again. Jim Harbaugh needs a big win. And even though this is the Citrus Bowl, they're playing Alabama. And I know Michigan is rich with tradition and they're a big powerhouse thing. But for them to beat Alabama would be huge for Harbaugh. So you're going to see this team. He's going to have them ready to play, in my opinion. And then we look at the defense. Alabama's defense this year was not the Alabama defense that we have seen in past years. Too many times they were giving up points. They gave up 31 points to Ole Miss. They gave up 46 points, obviously, in that game against LSU, where LSU went up and down the field on them. And then Auburn, who was not a high-scoring team this year, put up 48 points against them. Michigan's going to be able to score some points in here, and we're getting a full touchdown in this game.
Marco, I have no qualms of taking the 7, and I don't think it's going to get to 7.5. I'm looking at the power ratings numbers. I have Alabama minus 11. Yeah. I understand there's a lot that's factored into that. This is the Barking Dog segment.
Yeah. I'm going for the upset here.
You think that Michigan is going to win this game?
I have Michigan.
Beat Bama.
I have them winning 34-31.
Holy hell. That's ballsy. I like it.
I brought the big set today with the
Listen,
plays.
I'm full on board with Michigan and the points. But I am, it's rare. I know that Alabama's
I could
lost
take a
games this year.
2-point underdog and say they're going to win outright, but that's not fun. Come on.
I didn't say it was.
We're sprinkling some now. No, granted, we're going to have the majority of my bet size on this game is going to be on Michigan plus the 7. But yes, you take a little sprinkle in there.
Okay.
You know,
I'm terrified. Let's do it.
Kelly, those are the best bets to make because when you go to the window and it's too easy for you to say the bet you're making, those are the ones that lose. It's when you go to the window and it's hard to say, and when we get to the NFL one, like when we went to the window and said Dallas last week against the Rams, wasn't easy, and we heard about it. And we'll talk about that in our NFL show. We'll save it for there. But we heard about that play before the game. Nobody after.
That's usually how it works. All right, Marco with the big dog play. I like it. Dogs have been walked. You guys know what that means. It's time for the steam game of the week. We also have a trap game for Mr. Marco D'Angelo coming right up. All right, VR, who is your steam game for the College Bowl season?
I was going to release a total for the steam play, but I see a lot of setups on these totals, so I pulled myself back, so we're going to have to change the graphics. Forgive me. I'm going to go with Cal against Illinois. As long as it's under a touchdown, that's the right side. Illinois, you saw, once they got to that 6th win and they knew they were in a bowl game, it was like, cool, we don't have to play no more. It's over now. Who cares what bowl game we get to? We're getting to a bowl game. So they're happy. I like what I saw with Cal. They got that 6th win. They still had a job to do. They had UCLA ahead of them. They got the job done. And they're a team that played well on the road, winning 4 of their 6 games and going 5-1 against the spread. I like Cal in this spot. As long as it's not a touchdown, it might be even a teaser situation. I don't tease college football, to be honest with you. But Cal winning this game, to me, looks like the obvious choice. And as long as you're getting less than 7 and it's at 6.5, I think that's the right side.
All right, Marco, I closed the deli. Well, because there's really
Can't have a sandwich.
game.
Can't have a sandwich.
There's no other games. We can't start going over.
We can make it an open-face sandwich.
Yeah, national championship. Yeah.
There we go. All right, so give me your trap game for this College Bowl season.
Whenever I went through the card, wrote down all of the bowl matchups, wrote down all the lines, there was a game that jumped out and just punched me in the face. When I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, the public is going to run blindly to this side. And you already hit it on your barking dog. I saved it for the trap. And for me, it is Iowa State against Notre Dame. Because how many people are going to sit down and look? They're going to see Notre Dame minus 3.5 against Iowa State, and immediately it's going to look like free money. Why does it look like free money? Well, it's Notre Dame. You got that big mystique name, Notre Dame. What did they do? 10-2 record, and their 2 losses. One was to Michigan. That was the bad one. But then they played Georgia tough earlier in the year. So people, very good-looking 10-2. And then they're going to look at Iowa State and say, hey, they were only 7-5. And, you know, we're around that field goal number. We're basically talking about pick the winner. Everybody's going to run to Notre Dame. Don't fall into the trap. And that's why it's the trap game. You know, Notre Dame, are you excited? As you said, we're going camping. We're not going to a bowl. We're going camping. Camping World Bowl, come on. Where do we get all of these ones? For Iowa State, playing Notre Dame, the rich tradition of Notre Dame, these kids are going to be sky high for this bowl game playing them. So we've got that motivational factor that we're looking at. Notre Dame had bigger aspirations coming into the season.
Absolutely.
They're
one of the national championship teams or bust, worst case scenario type teams. They're up there with the Texases, who never gets there either. They're up there with Clemson, Alabama, those type of programs, Ohio State, even Michigan fans, as long as it's been since they've been to a national championship, that is what's expected. USC. So when these teams end up, with a couple of losses and end up in the Camping World Bowl, life's not so good.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard sell to get this team motivated. And when we talk about Iowa State, you mentioned him, Matt Campbell. I think he's one of the young, bright minds in college football. I like what he's done with this team. He had some injuries during the season, too. They lost some people to graduation, but he's still got the most out of this team. And they play defense. You know, we talk about how tough it is to play defense in the Big 12. This is a team that can shut things down. I think they slow Notre Dame down in this game. And again, if you're not motivated, you give me a live underdog, motivated, that can play some defense. I'm going to line up there all the time. This is my trap game of the week. I'm calling for the outright upset with Iowa State. This could have been my barking dog as well, but I went with the other one. I like this as the trap game.
We've got a little bit of time left, and I went back and forth between making this my best bet or what actually was my best bet. So I'm going to give my barking dog for this week.
But if you're doing this, you got to give us a bark. You're not allowed.
There you go.
Oh, well, that was sad.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? I'm going to go with the Memphis Tigers, plus 6.5 here over Penn State. Memphis has shown so many moments of greatness this year, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I really like this team. Penn State, I haven't been high on all year. I know they're 6-6 against the spread, nothing to write home about, but this is the Cotton Bowl. This is going to be chock full of Memphis fans. They're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Dallas. This is a Memphis team that I really like what they've done. Now, my only concern is Ralph talked about this last week about coaches and how well they do in bowl games. Memphis has failed to cover 4 of their last bowl games. I like this game. This is the first time these two teams have ever met. I think that Memphis will be much more motivated here against the name that is Penn State, that is all of the tradition that goes along with it. And frankly, I'm going to make a case for Memphis to come to the Big 12. I was talking to somebody the other day about it. I was like, I'd love to see Memphis and Houston join the Big 12 so they can actually be the Big 12 again. Either way, I think Memphis is worth a money line sprinkle here again. No disrespect to Penn State. I just don't see them getting up big for this game.
Memphis won their way to this bowl game. This is, Penn State didn't, they got here, but Memphis is here because of what they did. Penn State's here because they're
of what they didn't do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't think Penn State maybe had national title hopes, as we mentioned, with other teams. But I think that they had a chance.
When they were undefeated late in the season, to win a Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
it came down to the Ohio State game.
I think we saw it in that Rutgers game. At the end, they just were really kind of just defeated. Like, sure, we can beat up on Rutgers, but do we really even care? I feel like that same motivation is going to carry over into the bowls. Great stuff.
The 3 of us could beat up on Rutgers.
This is probably also true. We're going to take a quick break. But when we return, you guys know what time it is. That's right. It's Best Bet and Ask the Experts. I'm excited to hear what these guys have to say for their best bets for this college bowl season.
Get the rest of 2019 from your favorite wagertalk.com or sportsmemo.com capper for just $119, which is what we normally sell 7 days for. This gets you all plays in all sports from your favorite capper, including all 5% plays that sell for $40 by themselves. Close out 2019 with a winning bang.
What a week we had last week, going a perfect 7-0 in football. Get the rest of my 2019 plays for just $119. That's what I normally sell 7 days for. This gets you all my plays in all sports, including all 5% plays. Those 5% plays sell for $40 by themselves. Close out 2019 with a winning bang. Go to wagertalk.com right now and get my year-end special for just $119.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It's that time of the show you guys have all been waiting for. It is time to take a look at this week's best bets in college football. I'm really sad this is our last show. This means it's our last best bets, guys. All right, Marco. I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to you first.
Go to Ace.
You want me to go Ace first?
Go to
All
Ace
right,
first.
VR, who do you got? Who is your best bet for this college bowl season?
And I'm going to give a best bet that this will be an official play. I haven't released it yet to my subscribers because the only question is how big of a bet it's going to be. But the reason I'm sharing it is because this is actually a bet I'm placing, win or lose. But real quick, because it was asked on me on Twitter about my screen and keeping it on. You just set it up so they're saying, why am I doing this or something? Truth is, I'm looking at stuff coming in. Like I say, I do this for real. Like, bets are coming in as I'm doing this that I have to make a decision on whether I'm going to bet it, share it, do what I'm going to do with it. Like Central Arkansas -7 second half just came in right now. I have to decide whether I'm going to bet it,
you need to tell
whether I'm
me.
going to share it, whether I'm going to piggyback it, and all that. I have about a 3 to 5 minute window in halves before the line moves, and for full games, I have probably between an 8 and 10 minute window to decide whether I'm going to bet it, share it with subscribers so they could get down before the line moves also. So again, that's what I'm doing here. It's not trying to
VR,
keep the
you're
screen
fired.
lit.
It's off
I'm
the
sorry,
board.
but
We're fighting
the best
now.
bet, I'm going Temple over North Carolina. I'll definitely be on them, and here's why. North Carolina, 9 games they were in, which were one-possession games. This is a team that could have very easily lost all of those games. I mean, there's such a randomness involved when you win games that closely. And then, sure, they look good coming in these last 2 games, scoring all those points. Let's not forget, they were 39-point favorites against Mercer. They were 12-point favorites in their final game. You're supposed to blow those teams out. You know, they're coming in, it looks like with momentum, but against absolutely nothing. Look at the 2 games prior where they were underdogs. Again, they're not blowing teams out, and you're playing a Temple team that knows how to keep it close and stay within the number. They've done it all season. No reason it's going to change. If it isn't broken, why try to fix it? Give me the Temple Owls.
VR, I'm on board with you. That was another team that I already have written down, but I just circled it was your best bet as well. I love this Temple team. In the right spots, especially as underdogs this year, they have profited and done really well.
for us.
I'm totally on board with you on this one. Marco, who is your best bet?
This one's going to be tougher to swallow because if you look at it, and this
Why
is
are you doing this to me today? It's like
Yeah, what are
every
you picking
ugly.
now?
Yeah, well, we're going with Iowa plus the points,
Oh, that's not that
or excuse
bad.
me, Iowa minus 2 to USC.
Oh, that one's totally fine. I was like,
well, people are going to look.
after the Michigan money
there it
line,
is.
I was
Holiday
getting nervous.
Bowl, huh?
Yeah, they're going to look at this one and they're going to see USC. This is a
they
team that down the stretch, the last 6 weeks, they win 5 out of their last 6 games. They're scoring points in bunches. They've scored over 30 in 5 of those games. And you know what? Now that they realize what they've done, USC is going to sit back and say, oh, wow, we won 5 of our last 6 games. Great, now we're in a bowl game. Oh, crap, we're going to the Holiday Bowl. We're going just, up
Down
or
the
down.
street, yeah.
Yeah, they're going from L.A. to San Diego.
I mean,
to
it's
play.
got to be better than the Sun Bowl and going to El Paso.
It is definitely that. But here's where the bad part is. Because you won 5 of the last 6
What, they
games.
decided to bring Clay Helton back?
Exactly. You won 5 of your last 6 games, and guess what? You saved the coach's job. What are you doing?
I was totally joking. I did not know that's where you were
No,
going.
that's the problem
funny.
there. Now, for Iowa, I liked Iowa before this, and I moved them up to my best bet after what happened this week with Coach
Hayden
Fry.
Fry, yeah.
Hayden Fry, longtime Iowa coach, passes away. The guy was loved. He was, we have these guys that have been at places. You know how Bill Snyder, is loved at Kansas State. Hayden Fry was the same way at Iowa, okay? This is a guy that, changed the team. Remember, and, you look at their uniforms, Iowa. You see their uniforms. You know who they're copied off of, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He wanted to have a winning attitude. At the time, back in the 70s and everything, the Steelers were the dominant team and everything. They're going to play this game hard for him. Added motivation. And let's face it, they're playing USC. They're going on the West Coast. It's the Holiday Bowl, but going to San Diego.
I don't think the Holiday Bowl is a bad bowl. I've been several times. I do think that for Iowa, this is a good bowl. I think for USC, because it is close proximity.
Absolutely.
It's not the Rose Bowl where they play every single one of their other games. This is...
It's not a treat for them.
Right.
They're on the beach all the time. They're in L.A., okay? For Iowa, in late December, okay, you're getting to go to San Diego. Yeah, sign me up for that. And then you look at this one, USC's quarterback. I mean, he's played sensational. There's no question about that. And think about it. Slovis wouldn't even have been the quarterback if JT Daniels doesn't get hurt in the first game of the season.
Very true.
We would have never even seen him. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think Daniels gets his job back. I mean, this is a spot where when he was healthy.
I think that's a fair assumption. He probably won't get his job back.
Yeah, this will be one of those ones where, sorry, but he's going to transfer somewhere else because, he's not going to
Daniels
start.
enters the transfer portal.
Yeah. In Iowa defensively, this team is so underrated. They're 14th in the country with their defense. USC, 78th in the country. But here's what's more amazing. Iowa, for the entire season, they have not given up more than 24 points in a single ball game.
My only concern is coupled with that is they also haven't scored a ton of points.
They haven't scored. And
offensively,
that's why people are going to look at this, and all they're going to do is look at the flashy USC offense and say, oh, USC's the underdog here? Come on, no.
USC looks like a sexy underdog to take, like you mentioned.
Absolutely. I'm on it, and we made the joke about Helton, but come on, Ferentz versus Helton. You think that's worth a point or two in this game?
Yikes.
All right, best bet, Iowa, 31-20.
Okay. I went back and forth, as I mentioned, Temple, Memphis. I do like Iowa State and Iowa.
Long list there.
They're all on my list of potentials. As VR mentioned, some of these games you guys want to be really careful with. Some of these steam moves are setups so they can bet it later. As we talked about with Oklahoma, guys get in trouble. We saw that with Utah State. Their game is this Friday.
And I just came in, a group that I give accounts to bet Utah State -6, -110, 6.5, -110.
I don't think he's going to get in trouble.
Like
but
right now, they just bet it like 15 minutes ago, so I don't know what's up.
There's a lot of speculation there, and for me, it's better just to stay away because I don't have the ability to always be in front of a computer and be able to see when these things come in. So I'm going with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I'm taking a bet where I'm almost positive none of these kids are going to get in trouble because of who their coach is. PJ Fleck does an excellent job as a head coach. He's done an excellent job coaching in bowl games. I believe he's 3-1 in his only 4 bowl games he's ever coached in. I like Auburn. This is not a dig on the USC or the USC. God, I fell my brain on Marco's game on the SEC. But we know that the SEC is always favored in these bowl games, and it doesn't matter who they are. If they're in the Southeastern Conference, they're going to be a little overvalued, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here with the Auburn Tigers, who are 9-3 against the spread this year. The only 3 games they didn't cover were games that they lost outright. I do believe this is going to be another one of those scenarios. Minnesota showed me against Penn State who they were. I did bet against them with Wisconsin, but that was more of a situational play. I do believe this Minnesota Gophers team is going to come to play.
I love that play.
I'm excited about them. I think that they have a nice little sprinkle opportunity.
And I'll throw in for you, we talked about it with the Oregon game where we said that their final game of the season was more of a bowl reward than actually going to the bowl.
Absolutely.
Beating Alabama.
For Auburn, yeah.
For Auburn.
That was their season.
If we had a sandwich game or a letdown spot, I would agree with you.
Absolutely. Okay, are you guys ready to do our fun little segment here? Ask the experts.
I love this part. Because this is where
great.
you actually give an actionable information that you could use. That's more important than one pick to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, VR, I'll start with you. Actually, no, Marco, this question's from you, from JT from Brooklyn. Marco, I enjoy your angles, but I'm more and more confused about sharps. If the sharps are all about the numbers, why talk about their opinions so much? As soon as the bookmakers make the lines, we should know who the sharps are or who the sharps will take and move on.
For me, and you can back me up on this or disagree, Ace. To me, there's sharps and there's advantage players. Advantage players, to me, are more about the numbers, okay? They see a 3, they expect it to go to 3.5, they want the 3, okay? Or they want to be on the right side of that half a point. They're all about the numbers. The sharps that we talk about, when the numbers come out, they're attacking the mistakes. Okay, whenever we talked how many times this year in the NFL, Westgate's first out with the look-ahead lines. Circa's been first out all football season. Yeah. Those are not about the numbers. Those are about when they're betting Circa on Sunday, Circa made a mistake, and the sharps are telling them what that mistake is, and that's why Circa is letting them bet into them. Yes, they have limits, but they're correcting the market for them.
Absolutely.
That's the difference between, to me, we should always say sharps and advantage players. To
me, yeah, that's a great, the way I separate it, and through my 30 years of working with these guys, the way I've learned, because I've worked with good groups and bad groups, is I separate it between sharps and wise guys. And what I mean by that is sharp bettors know how to win long term. They're the 1% that actually knows how to win long term. But at the same time, I've met a ton of broke, sharp guys out there. A lot of them. You don't find broke, wise guys.
We talked about this in the green room earlier. There are so many guys that live and die by their numbers.
That are sharp as hell. That are sharp as hell, but are broke. Wise guys aren't broke. They're the guys that actually do practice what they preach. that know how to apply these things that we learn to win long term. These guys actually apply it all and do it over and over and over and over again. Where with sharp guys, they're trying to get to that point. Because I considered myself sharp a long time ago, maybe 2 decades ago. But I've only been a winning sports bettor for maybe 10 years at the most. I admit it. I mean, for the first 20 years, there were great years, bad years, but I wasn't a winning sports bettor, and I had access to winning information. But I didn't know how to use it. I thought I was one of the sharpest guys. I knew a lot. I could sit across from most odds makers and bookmakers. They weren't going to tell me much I didn't know, but I didn't know how to apply it and actually make money doing it and never go broke again. That's the trick. When you cross over from being a sharp to being a wise guy, is when you'll never be broke again, where you will use your bankroll correctly. And that's why I say I see a lot of broke sharp guys. You ain't sharp if you're a wise guy. Once you cross over to that, you know what you're doing.
All right, VR, I'm going to piggyback this question from GTO Rainman. How do you know when the sharps are on a side? For example, he's using probably me from Sharp, speaking with sportsbook directors, or do you have access to Sharp accounts? Maybe kind of go into that. We got about
best point, and because you hear it all the time, and I see it on social media. This is a sharp play. This is a sharp play, and I swear to you, so many times I want to jump in and say nothing could be further from the truth, but it's not my style. I just ignore it. But I see it because I actually provide account like these numbers that are moving. The reason I'm not on Twitter on Sunday during the games and Saturday is because I'm actually betting the stuff that's moving the lines that you're seeing on screen. So I don't have time to create Antonio Brown memes on Twitter. I'm sorry. So that's what I'm doing. So I could answer this question. It's so difficult to pick off what true steam if you don't have access to it, if you're not actually moving it for those groups. Or getting it from someone that actually does. Like Kelly said, she reaches out to guys that she knows win long-term or have access to win long-term. She takes all their advice, what they're betting, and then does her own work with it, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
I mean,
what you
I have my own
your
work,
own
but
stuff, but
I also appreciate knowing I'm on the same side.
Right. You're not going to piggyback it blindly is what I'm saying.
You can't.
You know who's sharp, who's not sharp. But as far as trying to determine what the sharp plays are, just because of the line moves, I mean, again, I wish I could say, do these 5 steps, you're going to pick off all the legit steam. It's just not the case. It took me so long to really figure that part out.
That's awesome. See, that's why I just wanted him to go down that tangent. That's why I piggybacked those 2 questions together. Because I think it's important to know where VR is coming from, where Marco's coming from, where I'm coming from. Give everybody a little insight to our background. Guys, we're going to step out for a quick break. When we return, it's our final thoughts on this week's action. Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at wagertalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at wagertalk and sportsmemo.com. All right, this is the weekly recap. But first, I'm going to give Mr. Marco D'Angelo the floor.
Yeah, guys, I just want to say to everybody, this is our last episode of the college edition, and we put this thing together basically in a month, this show.
Was it even that long?
Yeah. We had a lot of with that logo.
Oh, yeah. You guys, I was really ugly on that logo. I'm still not in love with it, but here we are.
But to do this show and to put it together the way we did and to have the responses, I mean, I just want to thank all of you guys. First, I want to thank you two for joining me in this vision to have this show. And then I want to thank all the listeners that have made both bet on it, the college version and the NFL version, so successful. I want to thank you guys. We are humbled by the viewership that you guys have given us. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. So let's recap the bowl games. Let's start off here with the Rose Bowl. The 2 old guys to the right of me still having crazy flashbacks. Wisconsin, I'm on board, guys. We all like Wisconsin. Sugar Bowl, interesting at 41.5. I agree there, and have a slight lean towards Baylor. Peach Bowl, Marco and VR going head-to-head. I hate this game already. I really just do. I said I was going to back Oklahoma, and now I hate it. VR with the cojones here, taking the ugly dog. Who knows? Maybe the back door will be open. And the Fiesta Bowl, Marco likes Ohio State. VR likes the under, and Kelly likes Clemson. But I probably won't bet it. I already have a national championship future.
Camera guy likes the over.
There we go.
Got everything covered. Yeah.
Perfect. Done. All right, let's move along to the Barking Dogs. Marco, scaring me there with Michigan +7 and VR. I'm on board with Iowa State as well. Next up, we have a steam game in California, -6.5, which probably means I'm going to go ahead and cross Iowa. I'm still on the wrong eyes. Illinois off my list. Marco says, be careful if you're backing the Irish. His trap game for the bowl season is Iowa State. Guys, I'm really sad. Marco, I gave you 30 seconds. All right, best bets. Let's do this. Marco is on Iowa -2. I like it over USC in the Holiday Bowl. VR and I agree here with the Temple Owls. This one's come down from the opening number. So, hey, other people agree with this as well. And I am taking Mr. Row the Boat himself, Mr. PJ Fleck, and the Minnesota Gophers +7. I'm so excited for bowl season. Are you guys in any big bowl tournaments?
Not yet. I've been too busy.
I sent them to
No,
you.
I know.
I didn't send any to
I haven't
VR.
gotten into any. Me either. I haven't been.
All right, well,
I
I'm in
haven't
like
even
6
offered,
of
I
them,
don't think.
so we're either going to have a really good bowl season or a really bad one. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's edition, the College Bowl edition of Bet On as much as we did doing it. Make sure you guys don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And until next time, let's bet on it.